I'm Patsy Thompson. You know, I've been getting a lot of questions in my inbox about ruler work in a sit-down quilting system. And I thought, you know what, I've been having a blast playing around with rulers, trying to learn how to do this myself. So I'm going to do a quickie demo for you, but I want to show you before I do the demo some examples of really fun stuff you can do with these rulers, and it'll give you a sense of what I'm going to demo for you today. Now, I'm going to show you a few examples of some cool designs I've made. This began as a trapuntoed feathered wreath in the center, that's why it's kind of protuberant. And I wanted to do something cool to frame it. And because the wreath has a circular sense to it, I thought, let me play off that circle. So with a temporary marker, I marked a circle here, and I had 8 lines that basically bisected this block into 8 equal parts, and every time my line intersected with my ruler, that is where I wanted to start and stop my ruler work. So this interesting thing here was really easily created with ruler work. So again, what you're doing when you do ruler work on a home domestic sewing machine is actually the same thing as what they do on a long arm quilting machine, except that you are holding the ruler and your quilt and advancing them here rather than advancing the machine against the ruler. But you're doing it so that your ruler foot is going to butt right up against this ruler. So you'll see here, each of these kind of crescent shapes is made with 2 different curves. So I started off using the fine line ruler. This is the middle size. I think it's a 10.5 inch. And I just abut against here to get this first line, and I did that through the whole circle. And then I swapped to this circle rule or circle template, did the same thing. And part of the learning curve on this is you're trying to estimate a 1/4 inch from the point where you want your needle to strike. So this is like one example. This one is a different example. And this one I started with a smaller wreath in the center because I wanted to have more room to play in with the rulers. And what I used for this was the Pro Echo line by Stonehouse Quilting, and these are really nice rulers. I used 3 different sizes of them. They come in a set, but this inside, and again, this isn't the size I used for this one. Let me see if I used this for any of them. This one might have been it, but you've got your marks, and you're estimating a 1/4 inch. You hop along here, and once this is done, when you go to do the second side, you just line this up, and it gets you this outside line. So it's going to create 2 arcs that are 1/4 inch apart, which is really cool. And obviously, I was just experimenting, seeing what I could do with ruler work. I kind of didn't play this out as best I could. I think you could put all kind of designs inside of this skeletal framework and come up with a much more interesting design. So this is the one we're going to work on today. And this is my first time trying this design out, so I don't know if it's going to work. But what I want you to see is I have temporary lines that have divided this into 8 equal quadrants. Easy to do. Corner to corner, corner to corner, midpoint to midpoint. So not hard at all. Then I took a compass, put that in the center where these 2 lines intersect. That is the center of the block. It's also the center of the wreath and the center of a circle. So I put my pointer here, and then I made this temporary circle line here. So what I'm going to be doing is creating crescents that go in a circular formation, and once I'm done, I'm going to have a beautiful framework that I can do some fill-in work in the center of the crescents. I can also do some kind of freehand work out here, and I can do something in between in this tiny zone. But the point of the ruler work is to create an interesting framework, and it's fun, it's easy, it's fast. Let's see how to do it. Okay, so what I want you to see, and this same principle will hold no matter what kind of ruler or template you're using. My needle has pierced the intersection of those 2 lines, of one of the solid diagonal lines and the circle line. And I'm abutting the edge of this ruler to what I think is a 1/4 inch from this intersection here, because that's where I want my needle to end. And remember, the distance from the needle to the outside of the ruler foot is always a 1/4 inch. This takes some getting used to. We may be a little bit off, but we're going to make this design work. I'm just going to travel around the edge of this wreath. As I work, I am using my left hand to hold both the acrylic template down against the quilt and also to apply a slight pressure so that the edge of the template abuts the edge of the ruler foot on my machine. Each time that my needle reaches the next marked stopping point, I pause with my needle down and move the ruler so that the end of the ruler falls at what I believe to be about 1/4 inch from the next marked end point. Making that determination of what is a 1/4 inch space is one of the learning curves of doing ruler work. As you'll see, my estimate will be a little bit off many times as I stitch this design, but in the end it will still look great. Okay, so we've done our first pass. Already we've got this beautiful frame around this wreath. Before I go to the next phase, I just want to point out to you, if you're into geometry and design and lines, I'm hoping this is getting you excited right now, because off the top of my head, I can come up with a number of things I could do off of this. Again, starting with ruler work to lay out a skeleton to create all kinds of different designs. I'm going to do something fairly basic. Again, we're going to create a double crescent with an internal smaller crescent. I'll go in later and fill in the center between those crescents. So for this first pass, I used the Pro Echo 8 ruler. For the next pass, I'm going to use the Handy Quilter Arc C1 template. And again, this is arbitrary. You could use all kinds of rulers to do this. This is going to get me, I believe, crescents and inner crescents in a size that will work for this particular quilt design-wise. So now I'm just doing the opposite side, or I'm on the same side of the crescent, but I'm doing the inner line. So again, this time I'm beginning at the intersection of my threads, and I'm hoping to end up here. I'm missing my points a little bit, and again, this is the learning curve. It's just like when we first learned how to pre-motion quilt. You just got to keep practicing to get these skills where you want them to be. As you can see, I'm doing the exact same thing in this second round of stitching, and the only change in this round is that the curve of this second template is different from the curve of the first. This allows me to create a more complex appearing ring of crescent shapes, because the edge of each pair of crescents will actually have an empty channel between my two stitched lines once I'm done. Now I will still have a large blank space in the center that I'll be able to fill with the design, but the overall circular frame of crescent shapes will be much richer because of taking the time to create this second outline. Okay, let's look at it. This is, to me, really, really beautiful right now. What I want you to notice is, had I come in and used an original ruler with kind of a deeper plunge, think how exciting that would be as a frame with just those two lines like that. So I'm going to change this. This is not going to look like this at all when it's done. But I'm pointing this out partly to myself to remember to do one like this, and partly to point out to you so you see there's just so much you can do once you start messing around with these rulers. So what we're going to do now is we're going to do the opposite two sides of this crescent, and we're going to work our way around a circle. Okay, so what we're going to do, we're going to completely change this now. We're going to make these into double crescents on this side. I've got a closed toe ruler foot on the machine right now. And what that means is I can really work with my template abutting all four sides of this ruler foot. My personal preference is I always avoid this side. And the reason why is the shaft of this comes in so close that I am not able to maintain a good hold on this as the pressure of the foot is hitting it if the ruler is on this side because of this shaft. So I flip things around a lot to avoid that side, and that's why I've flipped this around so we've got it this way. So we're going to do exactly what we've been doing. Again, our goal is to come right in here. So now we're on our last round, and we're going to be stitching the inside arc to this side.
Now you can really begin to see what this circular frame of crescents will look like. Of course, I could have traced all of this with a temporary marker and then stitched it out by following the line, but these curves are much neater and doing this ruler work is much faster using this method. You do not need a long arm and you do not need to be working on a frame system to do this kind of ruler work. Your home sewing machine will be just fine as long as you have a ruler foot and are using true long arm templates that are at least 1/4 inch thick.
This is our last one to meet up at the end. Okay, so what we've got here at the end, is this really interesting circle. Now I can go in here and put pearls or something like that. Not sure yet what I'm going to do in here. It's a narrow space, but look at all of this space out here. So I can finish this off doing something really cool. And notice that I leave all of my temporary lines in place until the very end. And that's because you don't know, when you get to this stage, you're not really sure what you're going to do. And you always want to be able to have a mark that tells you what the center of the circle is, the center of the block. And it's really convenient to have these lines still here because it's easy to play off of them. So you'll probably see the finished product on my blog, but I wanted to show you how easy this ruler work is. And for doing this, again, I used the Stonehouse Quilting Echo Pro Line sets, both the medium and the small, and these are on our website and our web store if you want to buy any. We've got the handy quilter rulers, again, on our website, and we've also got the Fine Design rulers, which are these ones that have the handles. They're just so nice for doing on your home domestic sewing machine or any sit-down quilting. But again, if you've got a home domestic sewing machine and you've got a ruler foot, you can do everything I just did. And the more time you spend doing it, the easier it gets, and it's really fun.
And here's a shot of the finished wall hanging. Didn't it just come out great? I ended up filling in the center of the crescents with a design I call capsules because they look like capsules lined up in a row, and then I added some feather work around the outside zone. Keep checking my blog because I'll post the steps for how I did those parts as well, but the take-home lesson here is that this ruler work is very fast, very fun, and a great way to create a skeleton or framework around an important quilted motif, and then you can go back in and add in some fun free motion fill-in work. If you want to learn more about how I create different quilting effects or machine embroidery techniques, visit our website and blog at patsythompsondesigns.com, and you'll also find some of the products I use to create these effects.